Welcome to Redemption Place's YouTube channel. I pray that this sermon equips you and encourages you to go all in on Jesus. If you think you're too far gone, you're mistaken. If you think you're without hope, you're mistaken. No one is too broken. Redemption is coming. Today is day one. And this year is made up of 12 months, 8,760 hours, 525,000 minutes, 31,536,000 seconds. And I believe that we're starting it off with the best thing that we can do, worshiping Jesus. So if we're going to think about, I know most of us did our New Year's resolutions, and we did goals, and we did, new year, new me. It's going to be the best year ever. And I think all those things you should do, and they're right and good. But if they're not filtered through a relationship with Jesus, then all those goals and new year, new me are in the wrong place. Because if it doesn't start out with him, then it's surely misplaced, right? It has to start and finish with him. So for the last month, what I've done is I've thought about, what do we as a church want our 2023 to look like? We're not just showing up on Sunday and going aimlessly and, we have a direction. So I've thought about, what do we want our 2023 to look like? What is our vision? And if we want to make 2023 the best year yet for Redemption Place, how can we use every month, every day, every hour, and every second and make it count? If you've been here more than one Sunday, kind of our slogan is to say, we're all in. So that's what, we have it on shirts, we're all in. I'll put it on Facebook, and we'll always say we're all in. This Sunday, what I want to clarify is what we're all in on. So it's easy to say, I'm all in. Most people are all in on something, right? Some people are all in on their career, or they're all in on their kids, or they're all in on sports. So most everybody in the world is all in on something. So as a church, what I wanted us to do is, make a commitment. Today, what I would call is Commitment Sunday. We're making the commitment, and here's what we're all in on. So if you could show this first picture. At Redemption Place, I don't never want it to be confused. There's 4 things that we're going to be all in on. The first one, all in on Jesus. That's very fundamental. We're all in on Jesus. We can do outreach, we can do serve everybody, but if we're not all in on Jesus, we're missing the boat. We have to start there. We're all in on his word. We filter everything through the word of God. We're all in on real community, and we're all in on our community. So that's the 4 things. If you're going to commit, I want to be a part of Redemption Place. What are we going to be doing? These are the 4 things that we're going to filter all of our decisions through. Does this glorify God? Can we find this in his word? Does this create real community? So Community Sundays, somebody asked me, I was telling someone about it, and they was like, well, is that before the service or after the service? I'm like, no, that is the service. And it's because I want to create real community. I don't want us to just, see you over there, see you in the back, let me track who's missing. No, I want us to really commit to real community and knowing each other. So I started out by saying what we're all in on, because I don't want there to be any confusion. I don't want us to get to 2024 and be like, well, what did we do? What did we commit to? Because I don't want us to just float around aimlessly. I want us to, as a church, have a direction. Because if you've ever studied mountain climbing or seen someone try to run 20 miles, I haven't, but you've seen other people do it. They don't just get up and do it, right? What do they have to do? Day by day, They have to make a commitment to get up and do it. So if you ever done couch to 5K, I did like couch to 1K. I made it some of the way, right? So if you ever have done couch to 5K, I love it because it starts out like day 1, this is what you do. Day 2, this is what you do. And by the end of it, you'll run a 5K. But it first starts out by making the commitment. And those who finish, what do? They stick to their commitments. And I'll be the first to tell you, my last 5 to 6 New Year's resolutions, they've been terrible. I start out strong like new year, new me, crushing it this year. And by July, it's like next year, right? And I've seen smokers. They're like, new year, new me. I'm never smoking a pack again. Until this pack is over. I got to finish this pack, right? So like my last 5 to 6 New Year's resolutions haven't been going that good. Last year was going to be the year that I lost all my weight. In the year before that. But here's what I want anyone to know that has been struggling the last 5 to 6 years, that has been carrying the weight of the past. Today is a new day. Today is a new day and a fresh start and a clean slate. You don't have to carry 2022 into 2023. You don't have to carry that baggage with you. You don't have to carry the weight and the burdens on your shoulders. And there is freedom in Christ, right? So what we're doing today is we're going to plant our flag in the ground. We're going to declare war on the enemy. We're going to hopefully set God-sized goals, pray big prayers, fast, because I truly believe this. I've always believed this about Owensboro, and we have churches 700, 800. But I've always believed if you can find 100 committed people, our city would literally flip upside down. I mean, just 100 committed people. Like, Nick, I'm all in on Jesus. I'm all in on his word. I'm all in on real community, and I'm all in on our community. I truly believe Owensboro would flip upside down. And you may say, like, well, Nick, I've been to a church with 100. But are those 100 all in and fully committed? Are they willing to do what it takes? Here's what I want you to consider in your personal life. What if you did go all in? What if you did stick to the commitment? So as me and my family was writing down my goals, one thing that I wrote at the end of each of my goals is, if you stick to this commitment, the you in 2024 will be better off than the you right now. So that's what I want you to personalize. Like, what if you did go all in? What if you got off the fence? What if you stayed committed this year? What would 2024 look like? Whose life would be changed because you decided to pray? Whose life would be impacted because you gave? Who would see God at work through your life next year? You know what we see, though? We see a lot of half commitment, right? Like, truth be told, that's what I did for probably 10 years of my life. Half commitment. I kind of go to church when I feel like it. I kind of plug in when I feel like it. I kind of serve when I feel like it. Half committed. Never really all the way in, just enough in to where people won't really bother me. Never really telling people my struggles, just kind of half telling people my struggles so they won't see me any different. But what if you really went all the way in? And next week I'll hit on this more. But we're going to start this thing, and it's called All In to Go All Out. And here's how simple it is. What we're going to do at the end of each year is we're going to give money away. And the 4 areas I want to give to is, I want to pay for someone's daycare for a year next year. I want to pay someone's rent for a year next year. I want to buy someone a used car, and I want to pay someone's OMU. Well, that takes a lot, right? Like, that's big God-sized prayers, right? But you know how easy it is to do that? If 50 people gave $20 a month, that's $12,000 at the end of the year, and all those goals would be accomplished. That's not hard, right? That's not difficult at all. But you know what would be awesome? And this is what you'll see how committed we are at the end of 2023. Was we all in or not? Because the level of our giving will be determined by, did we make the commitment? Did we follow through? So at the end of 2023, what are we going to do? Hopefully we're going to pay someone's OMU for a year. Hopefully we're going to pay someone's daycare for a year. Hopefully we can buy someone a used car. And hopefully we can pay someone's rent. You want to talk about outreach? You know how impactful it will be to pay a single mom's daycare for a whole year? So I asked a girl that I seen that's battling cancer, I said, what do you do when daycare closes? Don't work. That's what she told me. She was like, I just don't work. I can't work. If I don't have somebody to watch my kids. So she just said it keeps her in the same cycle of work, pay for daycare. Daycare shuts down, got to take off work. So it just keeps her in the same cycle. So I just think as a church, that's what we're making the commitment to. One of my favorite quotes of all time, Mark Batterson says this: the will of God is not an insurance plan. It's a daring plan. The complete surrender of your life to the cause of Christ isn't radical, it's normal. So when we think about going all in on Christ, that's not radical, that should be normal. That should be the complete normal thing of, Nick, I'm a Christian, I'm all in. Because you didn't see, when you read the Bible, you don't see like, hey, I'm following Jesus and I'm on the fence. No, like you've seen all in, radicalness, like pick up your cross and follow me. So the cause of Christ isn't radical, it's normal. This is my favorite part. It's time to quit living as if the purpose of life is to arrive safely at death. It's time to quit living as if the purpose of life is to arrive safely at death. How do we do that? We set up our big savings accounts. We set up just what if stuff. You know, we make our life so safe, so comfortable, never go anywhere dangerous, never get off the couch, never get in the game. And it's almost as if you just want to peacefully live, die, and wake up in heaven and all of a sudden be radical about Jesus. I don't know if that's going to happen, right? Like if we're not all in on him now, what would make you think you're going to be all in on him in heaven? Like, we all know we're all committed to something, right? One of the most convicting things to me, and look, I love my daughter that plays softball. One of the most convicting things to me is they will have a tournament on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and not one person will miss. It will be from sun up to sundown, $500 entry fee to get in the tournament, $20 wristbands a day, $400 bats, $300 gloves, and no one will blink an eye. But if church goes over 1 hour, it'll be like, that's radical. Right? So that's one of the most convicting things to me is, look, it's not even softball season. Y'all think practice stopped? We got practice tonight. It's like, dang, why didn't they cancel practice on the New Year? Nope, no days off. And not one parent complained. Not one parent blinked the eye. Not only that, we got lessons 2 days a week. We got personal trainers. And these are for 10-year-old kids. You know what we're teaching them? Be committed to softball. While her Bible is often closed. While church becomes less of a priority. That's one of my biggest convictions. So we want to know what commitment looks like in the Bible. Daniel chapter 3, verses 13 through 18. is one of the biggest levels of commitment that I've ever seen. Verse 13 says this. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in furious rage, commanded that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar answered and said to them, "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image that I have set up? Now, if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music to fall down and worship, you shall immediately be cast into the burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who would deliver you out of my hands?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be known to you, O king, that we will not," I'm going to repeat that. That's the commitment. "That we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." I'm going to pray. Father, I thank you that today we get to make the commitment. I thank you that you're the God of fresh starts and you're the God of clean slates. I thank you that when you say we're forgiven, that means we're forgiven. That you're not keeping score, that you're not holding it over our heads, but when you say you wiped us white as snow, we're wiped clean. I thank you for your grace and mercy. May you open our eyes. In Christ's name, amen. So there's three things that I think that we can learn from this passage that I want us to soak in, to write down, to remember. Here they are. Number one, what you're committed to shows. It doesn't take long to figure out what someone's committed to, right? What you're committed to will always show. Number two, what you're committed to will be tested. Number three, what you're committed to will cost. Let me repeat those. What you're committed to shows. How did that show with them? They was brought in front of the king. People noticed that they wasn't bowing down. What you're committed to will be tested. Hey, if you don't bow down, you're going to be thrown in the fire. What you're committed to will cost. They ultimately got thrown into the fire. Here's the truth. We live in an uncommitted society. All over, it's uncommitment, right? We live in an uncommitted world. Nobody really stays committed anymore, me included. I start out strong on a lot of things, like start out Bible reading. I'm going to read the Bible 3 times this year. Get to Leviticus and hit the snooze button. Right? I lose my momentum, but next year I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to read the whole Bible every year. I say I'm going to start waking up at 5 a.m. I say, new year, new me. I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. Then last night I was up to 12. I was like, 5 don't sound right. I was like, I already started off wrong. So, but that's every year. Like, man, I'm going to start getting up at 5. I'm going to start going to the gym every day. I ain't going to miss a day. And it's funny how the enemy works. I told my wife, I was like, I'm going all keto all year, no cheat meals. She was like, well, what about our New Year's Day special? Just that once. I'm like, that's just like the enemy, just that once, right? So, but I start out strong, and you won't be able to tell me any different. And it's something that I'm always going to do. And I say, like, I'm not going to scroll on social media. And I have a long list and a mountain of things. And my commitment level, what it does, it goes from I'm all in and absolutely not to it kind of becomes optional. My commitment kind of sways, right? It goes from all in to now it's optional. And that's what you see in our society. Like, it goes from all in, and I'm going to go to church, and then I'm going to miss a few weeks. So it gets easier to kind of not go anymore. And here's what the enemy does. He just says, just have one cookie. Just have one drink. Just have one inappropriate relationship. Just do this just one time. But if you've ever done it that one time and had that one Oreo, it never stops with that one. It never stops, right? It goes from one Oreo to the whole layer. It goes from 1 to 6 real quick, right? Like, if we was to be honest, we all have that thing in your life that you told yourself, I'm just going to do this just one time and I'll quit doing it. I'm just going to skip today on my Bible reading plan. My group is just going to miss this week. I told my wife a few weeks ago, my group was like, we're taking off in December. I said, there goes that group. Like, I've seen it time and time again, because when it becomes optional, you won't do it. Unless you stay committed to it, you won't follow through. So here's where we have to face the truth. Like, when I did my goals and looked at my goals from last year, I had to look in the mirror and face the truth and say, Nick, you wasn't committed. You didn't follow through on what you said you was going to do. And here's what I've learned. Here's the truth, guys. If I was half committed to the Bible as I am to my phone, I would literally read the Bible 3 to 4 times a year, easily. That's the ugly truth. If I was half committed to the Bible as I was to my phone, I would easily read the Bible 3 to 4 times a year. There's no question in my mind. If I was half committed to prayer as I am to YouTube, I wonder what kind of impact that would make. YouTube just has a way of reeling me in, I swear. I'll be like, I ain't watching these dumb videos no more. And it'll be like a 2-minute video of Nick's wild, they found gold in the Caribbean today. And by the end of it, I done ended up on the Pirates of the Caribbean, and they're acting cast. I'm like, got me again. And they know just how to it's only a minute and a half. And a minute and a half turns into an hour and a half quick. Right? Like, that's what we tell ourselves. Like, I only scroll for a minute. I only get on TikTok for a second. I'm only going to look on Facebook to see what somebody's doing, and by the end of it, I've never seen this, but somebody told me you can get to the bottom of TikTok and a lady will come up and be like, take a break. I'm like, if you get to that level, that's like mastery level of scrolling. I was like, is that really true? And Bella was like, yeah, Dad, it's told me that. I'm like, good Lord. When TikTok tells you to take a break, take a break, right? So here's the truth, guys. We're all committed to something. We're all committed to something. Be real. If you lost your phone this morning, you probably wouldn't have made it to church. The house, the kids, the husband, everybody would have been searching for the phone. I hate searching for my wife's phone. The ringer ain't never on. I'm like, call it. It's on silent. I'm like, why is it always on silent every time you lose it? But if you lost your phone this morning, your commitment level would show, right? You would be committed to finding your phone. Your anxiety would be high. You would think you was missing the president's phone call. You would think emergencies were happening. You would find your phone. And if you didn't find your phone, you would have a phone by the end of the day. Guarantee 98% of us in here, if you lost your phone, if your phone broke, you would have a phone by tomorrow. And not just a flip phone, you would have another iPhone. You would have your phone that you just lost replaced within one day. You know why? You're committed to your phone. So when I say God is number one, how is it that I can go days and days and weeks and my Bible will sit in the same place, but if I lost my phone, I would get a new phone by tomorrow? You know why? Because I'm committed to something else. I'm committed to the wrong things. So we say God is number one, but our Bibles stay on the nightstands. Here's a conviction that God's gave me lately. Nick, you say I'm number one, but you give me the least. Like you give me the least, Nick. I get you after everybody else. I get you after your busy day. I get you after you're done scrolling. I get you after, you watch YouTube. I get you after you clean your house. So how am I number one, Nick? You're committed to doing all this first, but spending time with me. That's a conviction that God's hit me with. So this year, what we're doing as a church, day one, we're starting off with 21 days of prayer and fasting. Because here's what that does. It pushes back on things that we think we need for things that we really need. So when we say, hey, we're going to pray and fast for 21 days, what's that look like? What I've done is made it very simple. I printed out calendars that are on the table outside. I'll post it every day. And what we're going to do is we're going to pray for something. We're going to pray for something intentional day by day. What is day one? So today is day one. We're going to pray for the lost today. So as Chris was singing, I was praying for people that told me they was going to start off in church today and going to be here, and it broke my heart not to see them here this morning. Because that's how we'll end up lying to ourselves like, Nick, January 1st, I'm in church. And I'm like, well, I hope you are. And that I didn't see them this morning. I'm like, a lot of the same thing. So today, what are we going to pray for? We're going to pray for the lost people around us. And then tomorrow, it'll be another prayer. And we're going to, so one job we have, make it to the 21st day. Can we do that? Can we make that commitment of 21 days of prayer and fasting? And when I say fasting, I don't mean miss every meal for 21 days. I mean push back on something. Maybe God's going to tell you to miss lunch. And maybe that's the time you spend praying with him. Maybe God's going to say, hey, don't have sodas for the next 21 days. But it's pushing back on something that you think you need to be intentional and committed for something you really need, him. That's what a commitment does. It says, I really don't need this. Like one of the most convicting things about social media to me is I say, well, what are 3 things that it brings positive to my life? And outside of staying connected with people, I can't think of anything else, right? But I'll spend 5 hours a day scrolling, right? And I'll be like, I already seen that, I already seen that, I already seen that. But I'll keep doing it. And it's like a trick because it keeps happening every day. So what am I going to do the next 21 days? I'm going to be intentional about spending time with him first. So in these verses today, these 3 men's commitment was put to the test. So here's what happened. You made your goals, you made your resolutions. In 3 to 4 months, those will be put to the test. Whatever your commitments were, they're going to be put under the fire, right? Are you truly committed to this? There will be a day where you want to give up on that commitment. There will be a day where not reading the Bible just feels a little bit easier. There will be a day where life gets busy and you're like, I'll just do it tomorrow. If you fall into that trap, what will happen is tomorrow will turn into the next day, and the next day will turn into the next day. And then 3 to 4 days will go by, and you'll be like, oh, I haven't picked up my Bible. I haven't prayed. I haven't spent any time with God. So these 3 men, their commitment was put to the test. King Nebuchadnezzar, what did he tell them? When I play the music, you will worship the golden image that I have set up. You will bow down. They only had 2 options, bow down and worship or get thrown into the furnace. You want to see if someone's committed? What happens when they get put to the fire? It's easy to say I'm all in when it's comfortable, right? That's why it's easy to make New Year's resolutions like you ain't under no fire. Life feels good, like new year, new me. But there will be a day when those commitments get put to the test. And here these 3 men were, their commitment was being put under a microscope and saying, let's see how committed you really are. You don't want to bow down? Let's see if you're committed when I throw you in this furnace. And sadly, I would have been like, God, you understand. I would have been like, God, you know my heart. Like that. That's how my commitment level sometimes wavers, right? Like, God, you understand just this one time. You seen the king and he turned up the furnace. You forgive me. That's what I do with sometimes in my life, right? Like, God, surely you know. You don't want me to die right now. I got a family and kids to take care of. So their commitment level was put under the microscope. So what happens to your commitment when things don't go your way? What happens to your commitment when life hits? Do you stay committed then? Do you stay committed when life puts you under the microscope? What happens when it gets hard? What happens when you don't feel like doing it? Because that's what we do, right? We worship when we feel like it, and we slack off when we don't. Almost as God is a feeling. God is not a feeling, and a commitment isn't a feeling. And that's when I usually fail. I let my emotions start making my decisions. I act and I worship out of my emotions and not my commitment, and emotions are always a terrible God. If I only read, worship, give, and serve when I feel like it, I won't be doing it much. If I only serve God and pray and read the Bible when I'm inspired to do that, guess what? My commitment won't stand. Because I always convince myself, hey, Nick, take off today. Hey, Nick, God understands you're busy. That's why we say feelings are never facts. It's just not, like, feelings aren't facts. I don't got to be just on top of the moon to be committed. Hey, I'm on fire. I don't have to be there to stay committed. I can also stay committed under the fire, right? I can also stay committed when I'm being tested. Here's the truth. If I don't make a commitment to be a giver, I won't be a giver. I won't do it. I always tell myself, I'll give more next year. No, you won't if you don't make the commitment. If I don't make the commitment to serve, I won't serve. If I don't make the commitment, if I make church optional, it will be optional. I'll start missing when I don't feel like it. I'll start just coming when I feel like going. I'll just start showing up. I'll always look for the excuse. I'll always find the way out. And here's what I'll call that. I'll call that the snooze button option. If you're anything like my wife, the snooze button is very optional. The alarm is not the alarm to wake her up. It's the alarm before the alarm before the alarm. So when I hear her alarm go off, I'll rush in the room. John, your alarm's going off. Nick, that was the first one. I'm like, well, why did we set that one? If that wasn't the wake-up call. And one day I literally seen her. It was like 6, 6:02, 6:03, 6:05, 6:10. I'm like, well, why not just get up at 6? She's like, it don't feel good that way. I'm like, what? So that's how we begin to live our lives, right? You know, you want to know how you break the snooze button option? You stop hitting the snooze button. The more you hit the snooze button, the easier it is. And eventually what happens is, if you're like my brother, you don't hear the alarm at all. When Rob stayed with me, he had 27 alarms. I'm like, I know he hears that. And I go downstairs and he's snoring. You know why? Because his body is conditioned. He's programmed himself that that's not the time to get up. That's not the time to wake up. The alarm has become optional, right? And that's what many of our lives look like. I'll get up when I feel like it. I'll get up at the last minute. And here's why I know it's optional. Because you know in your mind the deadline of when you got to go. So you get up then, like if you got to be at work, you got it timed out in your brain, 6:48. I can make it there by 7. Anything before that is optional. So you know and you programmed yourself not to get up. You want to break that? Set the alarm across the room. Make yourself get up. John is like, that ain't going to work. You'll turn it off. So that's it though. But that's what our lives begin to look like. Our lives become and our walks with God become an optional things. When we choose not to read our word, it becomes optional and not a commitment. When we choose not to go to church, it becomes optional. When we choose not to be a giver, when we choose not to serve, you know what it does? It becomes that much easier to not do it the next time. It becomes that much easier to not follow through the next time. It becomes optional. If a commitment is optional, then it probably won't be a commitment long. So you want to know how you follow through in commitments? You put your flag in the ground and you say, hold me to this. I'm going to follow through. And you put people around you that say, hey, I'm not going to allow you to miss. And when you do miss, I'm going to check on you because this is what you told me you was committed to. So I had my family write down their goals and I said, be careful because we're going to follow through on these. We're going to stay committed to these. So what's I don't even know if this is a word, but what's an unoptional commitment look like? Like, what's a no option commitment look like that I am doing it and I'm going to stick to doing it? It looks like this. It looks like no turning back. I'm moving forward. I'm not looking in the past. I'm moving ahead. It looks like despite whatever it costs, I'm sticking to it. It looks like even if I'm the last one doing it, I'm going to continue doing it. It looks like these 3 men being thrown into a furnace. It looks like Jesus on the cross for sinners. When we are committed, it means this, that there is no plan B, C, or D. You know what plan B, C, or D is? Options. Well, I'll do it until something else better comes along. I'll do it until I see this over here in the distance. No, that's plan C. When you're committed to the plan, you stay committed to the plan. Here's what commitment looks like, guys. It looks like not when everything goes your way, but even if it doesn't go your way. It looks like doing what you said you was going to do. Verse 17 and 18 say this. If this be so, they're basically saying, look, even if we get thrown in, even if we die, if things don't go our way, even though this furnace may hurt, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. Here's my favorite part, though. But if not, so they knew in their head, look, this may end bad. We could burn alive right now. We could lose it all. We could die right now. But if not, so God is able, right? He can deliver us. He can get us out of this situation. But if not, this is no wavering. This is no compromise. This is sticking to the commitment. Be known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. There was no option in their minds to not be committed to the God that they served. That's why I said your commitment will always show when it's put to the test. Do you really believe what you say you believe then? Do you really follow through then? So 3 things again. What you're committed to shows. You want to tell me, Nick, I'm on fire for Jesus. I love Jesus. I'm following Jesus. It'll show. People around you notice, right? People around you notice if you're committed to Jesus. What you're committed to will be tested. There will be a time when you don't feel like doing it. There may be a time when you're persecuted for doing it. And what you're committed to will cost. Always. It may cost you showing up at church early and leaving late. It may cost you sleeping in. It may cost you money. It may cost you friends. Is it worth it then? Is Jesus everything then? Is he Lord over all then? So if I can't be committed to him when things are easy, how do I think I'm going to be committed to him when things are hard? That's the trick, right? If I can't be committed to him when life is going so smooth and so easy, how do I think I'm all of a sudden going to be on fire and have this commitment level when life flips upside down? I won't. I'll turn to something else, right? I'll turn to what's been comforting me. I'll turn to what I've been committed to. You want to know why so many people go back to drinking and drugs? They're committed to that. When you see somebody in the streets that wants to get high, they will walk across Owensboro, Kentucky in the rain to go find it. When I used to be a fake drug person, I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get what I wanted. Somebody called me, I'm up. Somebody needs something, I'm there. I'm walking. They can't make it to me, I'm going to make it to them. You know why? Commitment. So how is it that people in the streets can be committed to all the wrong things, but as Christians, we come in here, we get comfortable, and we have half-hearted committed to the King who saves? That's the hard question. How can the softball team, you know what we get if we win a tournament? A $5 ring. That's what our trophy is, a $10 ring. There is no eternal reward. There is no heavenly reward. There's a $5 ring that sits on the shelf that Christopher will end up losing because he always plays with them. So that's what we're spending thousands of dollars to win, a $5 ring. But we come to church and it's like, well, see you next week. Well, sorry I missed today, Nick. Stayed up a little bit later than I thought. It's optional, right? Here's what happened with these three men. They didn't allow their conditions to choose their commitment. So whatever it was, they was committed regardless. When no one noticed, when people noticed, when they was out of the fire, when they was in the fire, they didn't allow their conditions to choose their commitment. They stayed committed regardless. If feelings were their God, what would have happened? They would have picked a different way. Think they felt like getting thrown into a fiery furnace? You think they felt like being put under the pressure in front of the king? They didn't feel like that, right? They probably felt like there's an easier, better way. If they allowed feelings to dictate their commitments, they would have picked the easier options. They said, "O king, throw us in. We ain't going to bow down. We're not going to worship you. We're committed to something bigger. We're committed to something higher." So what happens? God did deliver these men out of the fire. And God can deliver you and I out of the fire. But what I want us to focus on this morning is, do we have, but even if not, kind of commitment? If life doesn't go your way, will you stay committed? If all your prayers don't get answered this year, will you stay committed? If your finances get a little bit low, will you stay committed? When you don't feel like it, will you stay committed? Because you know what I can't promise you? I can't promise you that life will be easy this year. Can't do it. I can't promise you that life won't punch you in the mouth at some point this year. I can't promise you that you won't be tested this year. I can't promise you that you won't be put to the fire this year. But what I can promise you is Jesus is always worth committing to. He's always worth going all in on. So despite what we're facing, from the beginning of time to the end of time, you will never go wrong with committing to him. That's why our level started with all in on Jesus because we filter every single thing through that. So when we think about commitment and us falling and failing, we must be reminded of this. Jesus is much more committed to you than you are committed to him. So when I think about like, oh God, I fall short, Jesus is still committed to Nick Martin. When I think about, oh God, I just dropped the ball, how do I get up again? Here's my reminder. Jesus is still committed to you. This whole thing is not dependent upon your commitment level. It was dependent upon his. And how committed was Jesus? He gave his life on a cross. You know, when he was in the garden, he bled blood through his head. And he said, God, if there's a different way, take this cup. But God, whatever your will is, do it. And step by step to the cross, he showed how committed he was to saving sinners. If that's not radical, I don't know what is. That's the God we serve. And Chris, you can come up. So here's the question. Are you dependent upon Jesus? Are you trusting in Jesus? Are you following Jesus? And from an overflow of a relationship with him, have you began to live different, give different, lead different, and be different? Because if you do those things, you will commit different because your priorities will change. You know what my commitment used to be? To make the most money ever. So you know what I did? I worked the most hours. I never took a day off. I just worked. I started any and every business. I had no commitment to God. I just wanted to have the biggest bank account ever. You know what that showed? Somebody's got something for sale, I'm there. Money to be made, I'm there. Because I was committed to that dream. That's fool's gold. You know what I was left in the end? Emptiness. No matter what I obtained, no matter what I got, I was still empty without Jesus. It never completed me. It never fulfilled me. No matter what I got, it never made me whole. You know where I didn't go wrong? And here's where people go wrong is they think they can commit to Jesus to get something else, right? Oh, I'm going to commit to Jesus so he fixes this. I'm going to commit to Jesus so he gives me all this. No, your job this year, your job as a Christian is just commit to Jesus regardless. Jesus, I'm all in on you in the work you're doing, whatever it looks like. And I even tell y'all this. If I had it my way in my life, my last job was the easiest thing ever, and I could have stayed there. But I'm committed to Jesus, and wherever he calls me, I'll go, even when that doesn't make sense. Even when other people disagree with it. Are you more committed to Jesus than you are to people pleasing? Are you more committed to his plan for you than other people's plans for you? That's a hard question. You know when my commitments waver? When I start people pleasing. Hey, God, I know you called me to this, but these people don't understand. Well, it don't really matter if those people understand if God called you to this. Are you committed to him or not? Even when other people disagree, even when it doesn't make sense to other people, will you still follow him in the plan that he has for you? That's what it's about. Everything we are should start and end with Jesus. If not, it's broken. I could start a million things and a million Bible studies, and if Jesus isn't at the center of it all, it's a bad foundation. It's not good. You want to be a better spouse this year? Focus on Jesus. You want to be a better giver? Follow Jesus. You want to find freedom? You follow Jesus. You want a fresh start? You follow Jesus. You want to be made brand new? You follow Jesus. You want to find redemption? You follow Jesus. You want to stay committed? You follow Jesus. Everything in your life, your resolution should be filtered through, I'm following Jesus. And maybe you've designed your life. Well, I'm going on this path. I'm crushing all my goals. Well, he may call you to a different path. And are you more committed to your plan than you are to his? I don't know. Will you follow him if nobody else does? That's when the commitment shows. Because you know what? It's easy to get hyped when 500 people are in the room, worship music's all loud. It's easy to get hyped in, but will you worship if you're the only one worshiping? I don't know. Will you serve him if you're the only one there? Will you give if no one else is giving? Will you follow him if no one else does? That's why I always tell John, I'm not worried about no persecution. I'm following Jesus. They throw me in jail. Oh, well. John told me yesterday, I ain't going to bond you out if they throw me in jail. I said, leave me in there. I've been in there anyway. That's when it will show. When times get hard, are you going to stay committed then? Here's the truth. You know what marriage vows are made? For when times get hard. For better or for worse, till death do you part, for sickness or in health. You don't make the commitment when things are going good. You make the commitment because things may go very bad. That's it. But we live in an uncommitted society, right? We live in a wavering society of, I just make the commitment when I feel like it, when the conditions are in my favor. We're friends to people that are friends to us. That's how we live our lives, is when we feel like it. This year, you know what my goal is? All in on Jesus, all in on his word, all in on real community, and all in on our community. There will be people up here that will pray for you. If you want to pray, hey, I want to find Jesus. I want to know Jesus better. There will be people beside you that pray for you. If you want to talk, we're able to talk. But as we worship him this last song, think about this. I love that the first fell on Sunday. I love it. It's like, are we committed to Jesus? All right, the first is on Sunday. We're going to be at church, even though we stayed up till 1. All right, we're here. Today's a new day. Make the commitment. We're going to do 21 days of prayer and fasting again. We can never go wrong with putting him first. So what are we going to do the next 12 months, 365 days, 8,600 hours, 500,000 minutes, and 31 million seconds? If Jesus isn't first in that, we got the wrong commitments. We got the wrong goals. You want to make a better new year, new you? You better start at the foot of the cross worshiping him. Let's worship. Thank you for watching this sermon. I pray that it blessed you and pushed you closer to going all in on Jesus. I pray that you know he invites you in. He invites you to a place with him. I pray that you know that you can find redemption in his name. If you was blessed by this sermon, you can give by mail at P.O. Box 552, Owensboro, Kentucky 42302, or you can give to Redemption Place on the Church Center app. I pray that you have a blessed day.